All right, this is my slightly delayed Halloween episode, and I've done all I can to give it the Halloween flavor. I've wanted to do a video with the micro chapbook RPG system for quite some time because it is simple, it is inexpensive, and it is flexible. And as you'll see here, I'm going to attempt to marry it with something that is not simple, that is hard to obtain, and that is perhaps indeed unplayable, which is the Aries Magazine Nightmare House Gothic Horror board game. This is from Aries number 15, and the date I will put up in the video. I can't remember it off the top of my head. I've tried to play this game, Nightmare House, a couple times and sort of given up. It's convoluted and it is maybe a great idea, not greatly executed. I will say, first off, as you can see from, if you're looking through the video, if you want to get straight to the gameplay, just skip ahead to the time track. But the first part here, I'm just gonna talk about how I came to put this stuff together, and I'm going to be playing it out here. Oh, here, 1983 TSR. It was published by SBI, actually, SPI, which is owned by TSR. The game, and you can see the credits here. I'm really not going to be playing Nightmare House at all, but I'm going to be using it for a key component of my narrative for what I'll be playing out with the micro chapbook RPG, and as such, I'm putting it together as the Nightmare House micro RPG. This is a little sort of rules of sequence of play I worked out. It's not quite complete, but I thought it would be kind of fun to refer to. My concept here is to take the micro chapbook RPG, which provides very basic rules for dungeon crawls, and put it together with some of the flavor from the story pieces from Nightmare House to come up with a haunted character. I'm going to be playing Dr. Chillingworth. He is a human occultist, and this is what he looks like now, but this is what he used to look like. And he has been haunted by this nightmare house, and he has come to back to the place of the haunting to recreate his memories of what went wrong, to turn him into this, to try to get back to this. And as such, he's going to be traveling through the house. I'm going to be loosely maybe using, there's the time clock from Nightmare House up here, and then there's this also thing called the Soul Track, and they both have 12 spots. So I have no idea whether I'm going to stick to this, but I'm going to place a marker on the midnight of the, well, actually I'll say 1 a.m. as well. We're going to start on the Soul Track at 12, and if things happen, we'll move down to 0. If we reach 0, or if we reach midnight, our story will be over. Now, I'll say first off, to show you, if you're not familiar with the micro chapbook, these are two of the, this is the deluxe core rule book, and you can see it's quite thin, and in fact, it is very, very light on text. And this is the deluxe Game Master's Guide, which may also contain the rules. I'm not really sure. I can't remember. In essence, these are printed materials. Here's an example of one I printed off Skeleton Cavern, and what you get. Let's take a look at the rules I'm using with this game. I'm using the rules of the house rules, and it is alternative rules for the basic micro chapbook RPG, and it is provided by the designer, so it's official alternative rules. We have 9 stat points assigned to these 4 stats, and we're going to be getting a bonus additionally for our race of being human. The way the game works is you're rolling a 1d6, and you're adding your relevant stat to that roll. If you attain a 7 or greater, that will be a success. With the wits roll, you have a proficiency here as the occultist, and what that means is you get to roll 2d6, take the higher of the 2 for your attempt at success. Additionally, our Dr. Chillingsworth has the outwit ability, and this means that before combat he can make a wit roll, and if he passes it, he will get a +1 in the combat, and he will also get a +1 damage that he could potentially do with either one of his two weapons. He's got a poison dagger and he's got a black powder pistol. Additionally, he has blessed armor that he's wearing that's already factored into the stats, and he has a holy water that he's carrying around, which, if he needs to, he can get 1d6 of willpower returned to him. Willpower is down here. He currently is at a 40. He has a 42 health, and he has 1 remaining gold after making his purchases at the beginning of the game of these items and armor. The willpower is needed because when you encounter monsters or enemies, you need to do a willpower or bravery check, and if you lose that, you will lose willpower. If your willpower gets to 0, the game's not over, but you then need to add a modifier to any combat roll, so it becomes harder because you've lost your will, essentially. There's random dungeon generators and things. I'm going to show you. I have kind of selectively taken from a bunch of supplements I have. Basically, the micro chapbook is published in these micro chapbooks that look something like this, and each of them is self-contained with the rules and a little thematic dungeon crawl. This is the Skeleton Cavern one, but what I've done is taken from all the various ones that I have and pulled in things that are going to be thematic to our story here. And keeping with the theme, I thought it would be fun to have my own little micro chapbook, so I'm giving myself a little sequence of play here as to creating the rooms, what the types of rooms are, and I've got more details put in this document, and all of this comes from the various micro chapbooks that I have. And then I've got what the door rules are and what possible treasures there may be. Here's my list of monsters that come again from Micro Chapbook. And the key here in terms of creating the narrative and the story is going to be 2 roles that I could potentially get. One is when we're populating the room with what could possibly be in it, it's going to be a d20 roll. On a roll of 1 to 12, the room itself will be empty, but it says roll on memory. What memory is, this is going to be now what I've taken from Nightmare House itself. Within the Nightmare House rules, and these are some of the rules which you could say are pretty much a nightmare because they're just super confusing. There are hauntings in this game, and these are things like a creeping hand, bats, arcane forces that go with the story of this game, and I'm going to go over the story of this game in a moment. I have created a random table by numbering them here, and I've also added in to my table a discovery, part of this discovery summary. I've sort of put that all together, so this is going to be 2d8 roll, reading them separately, and I didn't get up to the full amount of that, so if I'm going to be rolling a higher number there, we're just going to have a monster encounter, I think. Maybe as this unfolds, it'll be clearer to do something else. I don't know. Again, this is kind of an ad hoc thing on the fly and can't all be mapped out, obviously. The Nightmare House game itself, the story is of a haunted house, Darkholme Manor, that was always known as a place of evil where death and destruction and hauntings took place. And in the game, one of the descendants of this tortured family with multiple tragedies within it has come back to this house, which is trying to scare away or haunt whoever invades it or who is near it, and she is coming to attempt to break the curse. There's other characters that you can play, including an occultist, a psychologist, and a private investigator, a priest. We're not really going to deal with that. If it comes up in these roles here, what I'm calling the memory, I'll try to factor it in, and maybe I'll go to this text. So again, my loose story is just to take these pieces of this and form it together in some kind of memory or narrative. I have no idea whether it's going to work, but I'm just going to play it out for the first time here, and we'll see if it's a success or not. I think that's probably all I need to review. I will be using, to create the rooms, to create the dungeons, I'm going to the Gary Gygax's Solo Dungeon Adventures, his rules for dungeon creation. I'm going to be using these rules to create sort of the basic size of the room and its location, but then rolling on the table that I created to determine what kind of room it may be. Now, this may make absolutely no sense in terms of the actual layout of Nightmare House. There may be, a bedroom next to a kitchen, next to another kitchen or something. It doesn't matter. It's convoluted, spooky memories that our tortured character, his Dr. Chillingworth, is coming back to Nightmare House to try to restore his sanity, his dignity, his place in the world, because right now at the outset, this is what he looks like. So that's where we go. And I think with that, we're just going to start and see if this works. Darkholme Manor. The name strikes fear in the hearts of those steeped in the occult. Something walks inside the house, something evil, something unspeakable. Located on a windy bluff overlooking Wisconsin's swank summer resort, Lake Burn, the manor stands in eerie isolation, strangely preserved, strangely beckoning. Few who have entered it have survived, and of those survivors, none has ever been quite the same. Dr. Chillingworth arrives at the house, ready to make his foray into it to try to restore some of the memories that he can hopefully put back together to reconsolidate his life and bring himself back to the place where he used to be before this all started. All right, we're going to roll. We're going to start here with a D20 roll to get a little bit. Let's get these guys out of here. I'm not sure this part's going to work out. We'll see. I just like those skeletons, frankly. All right, we're going to continue on. So he's got. We're starting in with some sort of passageway here, and we will keep it fairly narrow. So he's got a passageway about 60 feet down. Let's check out door situation. All right, so there's a door right ahead of us. We'll say it's a double door. We've got a door right ahead of us, and let's see what is behind this door. Behind the door is another passageway, and it's turning, so there's going to be a winding passageway into this house. And it's going to be turning this way around. I guess you can't really see that, doesn't really matter. Into a room, and the room is going to be, a rectangular room. And now we shall see about this room. It's going to be a 20 by 30, so we're not doing this to scale. Obviously, a medium-sized room is basically what we have here. And what kind of room is this? 20. It's a nest. Ooh. It is some kind of a nest. So right away, we're going to get into something. I don't know. I'd have to see what kind of a nest it could possibly be. But let's see what else we've got in the nest. I didn't mention earlier, I'm going to be getting some things from here. And one of the things I'm going to be getting from here is what could possibly be in this nest room. think I properly set up all my dice for this situation. A 63. It's a drinking vessel. It's damaged. Okay. Is that beckoning us? I don't know. Drinking vessel. Let's see what else we got here. 78. Stone blocks. Stone blocks, a drinking vessel in a nest area. Let's see if we hear anything. It's already creepy. 44. We hear some growling. Of course we do. And let's see if we smell anything. I've already gone off the order that I was doing this, but that's okay. 38. It smells of earth. So we walk into this decayed, probably dank, although it doesn't say that. We've got a drinking vessel, so maybe there is, and some stone blocks. Maybe this is like, maybe that's like a cistern or something. All right. Let's roll on the contents here and see beyond this what we get. This is a D12 roll, and it is 3. It's empty, so that means we're going to roll on our memory, and I'll show you how this works. We're going to go to the nightmare house and see. This is the crux of whether this is ever going to hang together or not. This is a D8-8 table that I made up, more or less. So what that means is I'm going to take my 2 D8s, which I need to find, and I'm going to be reading them blue and white, not adding them together to get my spot on the memory chart. And let's see what we rolled. So that's going to be a 6-1, and 6-1 brings us to our first memory. Portrait of Alistair. You discover a portrait of Alistair Darkholme. There is a gaping tear in the painting about where Alistair's throat should be. What appears to be fresh blood seeps copiously from the canvas around this tear. The painting is the focus of Alistair's presence in the house, and anyone who discovers it is assumed to have destroyed the painting, thus freeing Alistair's spirit from the metaphysical chains that bind it to the house. We've discovered this painting, and apparently we are tied to this Alistair in the house. And let's remind ourselves in this game of who Alistair is. Alistair is the son of the Joseph Darkholme, who was the monster and father of monsters. So Alistair, devoted his life to the black arts and was found, can't see this, sorry. Let's go back. Here we go. Alistair Darkholme is the son of the owner of this house, Joseph Darkholme. Joseph Darkholme was a monster and father of monsters. Alistair Darkholme devoted his life to the black arts and was found slashed to death one bright morning, the razor that had inflicted the death wound still clutched in his hand. Others say that the evil is the legacy of Alistair's misbegotten daughter, the evil Lilith. So he's the father of the evil Lilith. So our first memory here. So now we have like an additional spirit in the house. And as I am doing this is probably not going to work. I think what I'm going to do, I'm changing my mind here about what the significance of all this is. To track things, I think we will, as we attain a discovery or a memory, that's going to advance the soul track. I'll probably still keep with the time clock or 12 rooms. I don't know. I think these little guys, as much as I like them, are going to have to go by the wayside. But I'm going to keep track somehow of memories that I discover here, and we've discovered one, and it's going to be 61. We can refer to that there, and I don't know, who knows. In any case, that is room number 1, this nest with some drinking vessel in there and this painting. I think I'll note the painting down of Alistair there. All right, and now we're going to... All right, well, in the interest of time, I'm going to dispense with some of the rolling for the room size and number of doors on the video, and just pick up with, as we enter the second room, a determination of whether or not the door is locked. And these rolls and rules come right from the micro chapbook RPG, and I just transcribed them into my little mini thing. So we're going to give this a roll of our D6 and see what we get. A 1, so it is trapped. We're going to make a willpower check to disarm and move. I'm sorry, that's not a willpower, that's a wits check. So the way this works is we're going to roll our wits, and again, we have proficiency, so we can roll 2d6 and take the better of the 2 rolls. In this case, it's going to be the higher, and we're looking for a modified 7 or greater, which we do not get, so we can't disarm that, and we're going to take 1d3 of damage on this trap. Now, I didn't, let's see, I think I sort of put this together differently, so we're not going to take 1d3. We're going to roll on the trap table to see what that is. That's a swinging scythe, so 1d6 plus 1 damage. So we've got some like blade thing coming down here that's like swinging back and forth, and it's going to get us for a 1d6 plus 1. We're taking 6 damage right off the top here. So our health, which had been at 42, is going to go down to 36 health. All right, so we're narrowly missed getting our head chopped off as we enter this room, and let's see what type of room it is. We'll start a little bit. I'm going to go starting with these furnishings, and I may also omit these rolls on camera just for the sake of time, but they're pretty fun, I think, to see what we come up with. So this is a D100, and we got a 53 on that. So we enter this room, a latrine. Ugh, I don't like that. I don't like that. No, just no. We're going to skip over that. Sorry. We're going to roll on the curiosity table. 21. Can only go so far here. We have some moldering bones in here. And let's see, what else can we get? See if there's anything else of curious nature here, of a 92, and some slugs. Moldering bones and slugs in a room that sounds like, oh, there's some bellowing happening. Some bellowing, and let's see, what? 29. We have a feeling of death and decay. All right, and now let us find specifically what type of room within the house it is, and we go to our D12. Here we go. It is the throne room, a throne room. So, well, that's appropriate because it was a kind of triangular room. So this is a throne room. I don't know throne of what or throne of whom, but we've got these moldering bones and slugs with a bellowing. Maybe there's just like a dead ruler or king here. All right, let's find out more specifically what the contents of this room are going to be. This is a D20 roll, and we're going to see what we get. 19. A trap, another trap. All right, it's another trap. We're not having much luck here. And so we've got the scythe trap going on inside. There's a spear trap in here. We get 1d3 plus 1 damage. And we have a d3. So we get, of course, 4 damage in this room. This is not going to be so great. We're down to 32 health, and we're going to move on. Let's like exit here. We're going to exit right here and check on the door. The door it's stuck. So we're going to make a strength check to open the door, and we're going to lose a willpower here. I would say we're getting a little demoralized here. So we're down to 39. And strength check, we're going to be rolling our d6 plus 3. That's going to be a fail. So we're going to be stuck here in this room. We did not push the door open, and I need to consult the rules and see what that means. All right, we're going to just continue to lose willpower here until we get out. So we'll go down to 38 to try again. Basically, we need to just succeed, and there we go. All right, so we're going to move through into the next room. And let's roll this up differently this time. Let's see what type of room this is in the house. It's going to be another throne room? No. not another throne room. It's going to be the kitchen. It's going to be the kitchen. It's a lengthy kitchen, and something is what's going to be cooking here. Let's see what it smells like cooking in this kitchen. Cooking in the kitchen. Whoa, it's fragrant. Who knew? Maybe there's a pleasant skeletal cook here who's going to be offering us something, and we'll see what is in the kitchen and anything of interest for us in the kitchen. There's a wardrobe. One more item in this kitchen. Of course, there's a demi-human corpse, so we're perhaps cooking up a corpse. Maybe we're making some corpse soup. How about that? And we'll see what this tells us in Nightmare House, if anything, and it's going to be a memory. So we've reached our second memory, and we'll make a note of our second memory, and we're going to go to our D88 roll, and reading again blue and then white, so we rolled a 7 and a 5 on that. It is out of range. So we're going to have a monster encounter here in the kitchen with this corpse soup. Is going to be, somebody's going to be enjoying this corpse soup. Let's see who it is. And my monster table didn't make it into the little my own mini chapbook, so roll here, and we're going to read blue and red, and we get a 5, 6, and who shall be here? Ooh, it's a mummified corpse enjoying a corpse soup. Well, that's very meta, and I made a note as to where this is, and I think this guy is going to be a mummified corpse. So here is how this works. He's going to be doing health damage of 1d3, willpower damage of 1d3 plus 1. He's got 7 life points. There's a mummified corpse having some corpse soup here. And so the first thing we need to do for combat, we're going to make a charisma check. And if we pass, we're going to get a willpower. And if we fail, we're going to lose a willpower according to the willpower damage that it does. So to make a charisma check, we will be rolling our d6. We only have a charisma of 2, and we did fail that. So we're going to be getting from this mummified corpse a 1d3 plus 1 willpower damage, and that's going to be 3 willpower. So we're going to lose 3 willpower. We're down to 35. And the next thing we're going to do is we're going to check the room size to see whether we can conduct ranged attack. And in this case, we can. So we'll be rolling our dexterity for that. And we're going to be drawing our ranged weapon, which is a pistol. So we see this corpse, this mummified corpse, eating some corpse soup in the kitchen. We draw back our pistol, and we roll with our dexterity of 3, and we get a hit. That's a 1d6 plus 1. And unfortunately, we only get off 2 shots or 2 wounds to this corpse's life, which is 7. So he's still pretty happily at 5 health, enjoying his soup. And now we're going to run forward, take out our poison dagger, and we're going to make an attack using our strength value, which is also a 3. And we do land that hit as well. And our dagger does 1d6 worth of damage, and that is enough to finish him off. So we're just repeatedly stabbing him until he disintegrates into his soup. So we have a corpse soup with another corpse in it. And we breathe a sigh of relief, and let's see whether or not there is any treasure that this monster or this skeleton has with him. And the treasure roll, I'm sort of modifying the roll here. Basically, if we roll a 1 through 5, we'll get some gold, and if we roll a 6, we'll get to roll on our special treasure chart. Unfortunately, we did not, so we earned 5 gold. Per the basic rules, we earned 5 gold that we could spend later on. All right, 4th room is going to be... Oh, a dining room. Very appropriate. A small dining room off the kitchen. And let's see what is in what does the dining room smell like? Well, we had some fragrancy in the kitchen. Does it carry over to the dining room? No, there's some rotting vegetation in here. So perhaps there's some vines or something out here, some tendrils that are growing into this old dining room. And let's see, are there any sounds in this dining room? How creepy is this dining room? There's some creaking doors in here. So we've got rotting vegetation and creaking doors. And is there any place to sit down, perhaps? There's some heraldic shields on the wall hanging. So the shields perhaps are connected to, perhaps this was the site of, at one point in this family, there was a ruler or a king, and there was a noble family that had fallen into disrepair, and more bones. So we've got a bone, certainly a bone theme coming in here. And now let's go to the specifics of the Nightmare House and see with our D12 what, if anything, there is. A 2. All right, we're getting another memory here. And so that second memory is basically thematically just kind of lost to us, essentially. It was an attempt at a memory, but it was lost to us. And now we're going to roll again, and we get a 1-6, and that will be some type of a memory. And let's find out what it is. Bats. Hundreds of large, filthy bats suddenly materialize out of thin air and begin diving on you. Well, that feels like very much a bat encounter. So it says hundreds of bats. We cannot possibly, unless we're going to just be devoured by the bats, I suppose that could be something that would happen if it's truly hundreds of bats, but that doesn't make sense translating across to our rules. We do have bats in our monsters. So all right, here we have the we'll take the plague rat rules here. We're going to go with 5. That's the maximum. And because we're in this dining room, it is also filled with rotting food that I realize I put in my list here but didn't note in my mini list. And that's going to give us a -1, automatic -1 willpower. So we're going to be doing our charisma check here first to see about the willpower situation, and we'll be rolling our d6, adding 2, and that's going to be a fail. So we're going to automatically be losing 1d3 plus 2 per the dining room. So we're going to be losing 5 willpower. So we're down to 30 willpower now, and we have to deal with these 5 plague rats. And the room is not big enough to do any kind of ranged attack, so I'm going to have to strike with my poison dagger and rush at the first rat here. So I will do a strength check with a modifier of 3, and we definitely successfully stabbed that rat. We're going to do 1d6 of damage. Each of these have 3 health. So I dispensed with the first rat, and we will continue on. All right, we dispensed with them. In the end, one of the rats got us for 1d3 plus 1 damage. So our health now is down to 28, and we're going to move on. All right, we're moving on, and we're going to find an antechamber. An antechamber is what we come to next off the dining room. And the door to it is unlocked, so we can move through that freely, and I've kind of dispensed with the rolling up any kind of room size. So we're in this kind of vestibule type of area, and let's see what could possibly be in here. It's going to be, oh, a monster and a treasure. Good. We need some treasure for sure. The antechamber, it seems someone lives here. We get a -1 to our charisma check. So we have to remember that when we encounter this monster. Indeed, a monster does live here. So we're going to see who's living here. And then after we roll this up, we're going to we got a 44. It's a depraved hunchback. Maybe he's The depraved hunchback lives here, and maybe he is the sort of the new master of the house. Maybe that's possible. Or could he be, our one memory that we got had to do with the release of that Alistair Darkholme. So he has been released, and he has been now roaming the house. His spirit, perhaps this depraved hunchback is old Alistair, must be. I'm going to say that is. We've discovered Alistair Darkholme here. We haven't had a lot of memories, but now we're finding he's wandering around this antechamber. And let's see, what could there be? Anything else in here? And he's got a cane or a crutch. So he's a depraved hunchback. He's kind of lurching toward us with his cane or his crutch. Well, interestingly, the depraved hunchback makes his appearance in this Crypt of the Damned rules, which is where we have our character sheet from. So read that into that what you will. We're approached by this depraved hunchback. He's kind of lurching toward us with his cane. There's a maximum of 2 of them. We're going to just say there's 1, and he does his health damage. He's got a life force of 10, and he's going to do 1d3 plus 2 willpower damage to us. We need to check on this with our charisma at a -1. So we're going to do that check first, and our charisma is only 2. So that's going to be a tough one. And indeed, we fail. So we're going to be getting some willpower damage from him. We're getting increasingly demoralized, and I did make the correction that I noted in the video. So my current willpower is only at 28. We're going to get 1d3 plus 2 willpower damage, so that's going to be 4 willpower damage. So we're down to 24 willpower with a current health of 28. And this room is too small for us to do anything with our pistol. We don't have time to draw it. We're just going to be left with our dagger, and we're going to rush forward in our melee attack, increasingly frenzied melee attack, using our strength stat of 3, and we are successful there and landing let's see how many hits. We got 3 damage to him, and we will continue on grappling with him. He's a pretty strong fellow because he's still at 7 health right now. And we will continue along, seeing whether we can make a successful further stab. We do, and we're frenzied, and we're getting at him now. Finally, we falter a little bit. Oh, no, we continue on, excuse me. That's it. And our last, he's down to 2 health, and we finish him off. So that was pretty quick. Luckily, this is a room with some treasure. And let's see what type of treasure we are going to get. We have a D12 option here, a choice of treasure. And we get a stake crossbow. So that's actually a pretty good ranged weapon. The stake crossbow does 1d6 plus 2 damage. It's worth 7 gold, or it would cost 7 gold to purchase. So we're definitely going to switch out our pistol for that because it gives us an additional damage. And so we're going to drop the pistol, and we'll get this stake crossbow and continue on. All right, in the interest of time, I've skipped ahead a little bit. We continued traveling through. We had a junk room, a torture room, cellar, and now which had some sort of incomplete construction of the cellar, and we've gotten to a morgue, and we're finally getting another memory coming in. This is only going to be our 3rd or 4th memory of the trip here, and I'm going to roll that up and see where it leaves us. Our health right now is down to 21, and our willpower is at 17. So we're going to give this a roll on the memory chart, and we got a 1-5, and let us see what type of memory is coming to us now here. Oh, Alistair's death. Interesting. Alistair's death. Wow. Alistair Darkholme appears before you. Now, I thought we just possibly dispensed with him earlier.
I thought we'd dispense with him earlier. Alistair Darkholme appears before you. He is a darkly handsome man with pale, aristocratic features. He wears clothing that was fashionable about 20 years ago. As you stand transfixed in horror, he smiles and raises a gleaming razor to his throat. With a single stroke, he traces a fine red wound from ear to ear. Well, that's pretty creepy. I put the warnings up in the video. I really did. I hope you read them. So Alistair has appeared to us after earlier in our memory we had the portrait of him. So we discovered this portrait that we kind of released him, and then I thought we dispensed with him when we encountered the hunchback, but apparently not. Apparently he has come back, and it's all quite torturous. And I think, folks, at this point, I'm going to sort of leave this demo here and say that we're pretty much left in this sorry state. I'm admitting I'm abandoning ship now with Alistair returning. We got 8 rooms in. We had possibly 4 to go if I was going to stick with the 12. But this is just a little fun Halloween-y trip for you into the weirdness of the Nightmare House. I never really did pick up anything to do with this soul track or the clock, really too much to do with this actual Nightmare House rules, although the hauntings and the memories and such obviously came from that game, and I pieced it together as I could for you. Perhaps not the most coherent of narratives, but just a little something for a belated Halloween.